Welcome to Journey to Queendom, the sacred space where survival ends and sovereignty begins. I'm your host, Marci J. Duncan, and this is where we lay down the cape of overachievement, code switching, and self-doubt, and we pick up the crown of softness, wholeness, and authenticity. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so happy that you are here with me again, that you are still riding with me on this journey as we uncover our inner queenness, as we continue this journey to queendom. And I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for your positivity. I feel it, I experience it, and it helps me to keep moving forward. Let's get into today's podcast. How are you feeling? We've been talking about a lot of things that require vulnerability, that require transparency, that require authenticity and honesty. And that takes an incredible amount of courage, right? It takes an incredible amount of courage. And I want to say hats off to you, but I also want to check in to see how you're doing. Last episode, I asked you to think about what you want, what you genuinely want right now in this chapter of your life. What do you want that doesn't include other people? I gave you a few things that I wanted. And of course, that list, it grows as I come into myself, come into my royalty. It grows. But I started out by making a list, and there were like 5 things on that list. And it was take a vacation, get a tattoo, grow your locks, or start your locks. Things like that I really have desired for a long time, but I never really put any energy into obtaining because there was no time for that, right? There was no time for that. But all of those things on that initial list, I have done this year. This journey that I have started has absolutely changed my life. And I want you to be a part of this journey. I want you to look at yourself differently. I want you to see what God sees when He sees you. I want you to come into that knowledge and be comfortable with that and be confident in that and walk in that direction. For a long time, I believed that softness was weakness. And I know I didn't make that up. I know that society has trained me to think that way, that what is soft, what is meek, what is humble, what is kind is a sheep, is weakness. And I really believe that. I believe that not only because of what society was telling me, but also because of some of the trauma that I experienced in my life. We've also been talking about opening those doors, those closets that we have packed all of this trauma into, closed the door, locked it, never to look at it again. And I am encouraging you to unlock that door, to open it wide open, turn on the light, and have the courage to be curious, to investigate how these things are shaping the way that you think, the way that you think about the world, the way that you think about yourself. And those things in my closet absolutely were telling me that you cannot afford to be soft. You have to protect yourself. You have to look out for yourself. You have to make sure that nobody is trying to take advantage of you. You have to make sure that you're on top. You have to make sure that you take care of it all, that you don't crack, that you don't complain, that you don't play the victim. You have to be able to carry all of that. There's no room to be soft. You don't need softness. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. I'd rather identify with the strong independent Black woman than I would vulnerable, transparent, meek and mild and soft. I had tapped so much into my masculine energy that I just threw away all femininity. Not all femininity, some of it remained, but I started to say, I don't like these things just because they were quote unquote feminine. Now, I knew that I was a woman, and I've always been a woman. Let's not get it confused, because that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that my persona, that my identity was very much strong, Black, independent woman. I get it done, and I'm about my business, right? And I took on a very much masculine approach where I didn't let anybody tell me I couldn't do something. I didn't take no for an answer if I wanted it. I made sure that I put in the work to come out on top in my field. If I had an issue, I was going to make sure that it is heard, right? If I had an opinion, I'm putting it out there. I had no trouble with confidence in terms of what I brought to the table. I didn't have any issues with that. So I thought. So this persona, this mindset was another symptom of survival mode. Because see, those issues or those events, those traumatic events that happened to me in my life as a young girl painted the picture that people were not trustworthy. That if you give them enough time, they are going to disappoint you. That men, no matter how much the movies say, the happily ever after, the fairy tale love story, that does not exist. It is not real. It is just the movies to make a great entertainment piece. It's not real, right? These are the lessons or the mindsets, rather. These are the mindsets that I adopted from those traumatic events. And this is the way I was operating. Now, as I say it to you now, it really does sound crazy. It really sounds crazy. But walking in this mindset, you are not aware of the way that you are moving through space, the way that you are really and truly moving through space. You think you know, because those are coping mechanisms to hide the fact that you are so afraid of failure. You are so afraid that somebody is going to see that you are not who you say you are. That you are so afraid that somebody is going to hurt you so bad that it will be beyond repair. That is what I was running from. That is what I was unwilling to look at. And so I adopted these coping mechanisms to never be weak, never be vulnerable, never be transparent, because it didn't benefit me. So there went my softness. There went my vulnerability. There went my transparency. There went my full display of compassionate love. And instead, I adopted loyalty. And when I clung to something, I ride for it, good, bad, or ugly. And when it goes bad, I cut it off. Yep, it might make me sad. Yep, it might make me cry. But in 3 days, you got to get yourself together and move on. Change your number and move on. These are those hard, calloused ways in which I dealt with relationships and friendships. If somebody messed up, that was it. They didn't get chance after chance after chance. If they showed who they were, I immediately adjusted. I was a match energy type of person, right? And my approach to relationship was very much, I'll get you before you get me, right? On and on and on and on and on. And what I didn't realize is that it was making me more unhappy. It was making me more depressed, more anxious. Of course, that part was not clear at all. I just kept running in this circle, in this hamster wheel, in and out of these relationships where these men would just not commit. In the beginning, they would be all about it, all that lip service. And that given that 60-day trial run, and there we are back in the same ridiculous cycle of these people not being honest and lying and doing all of this other stuff, right? And I'm saying to myself, why can't I perceive that this is that type of person? Why can't I figure that out? I've been through it a million times. Why can't I figure it out? And instead of figuring it out, I decided that that's how they all were, right? And if you give a person enough time, they will eventually show you and prove that that's how they are, that they'll change. They'll change from that. Let me pull your chair out to ghosting, not returning your phone calls, not returning your texts. And this, people, this was my normal. Did it feel abnormal to me? No, because I'm talking to my friends and they're going through the same thing. They're having the same issues. So this was not abnormal to me. It was unpleasant, but it was my normal. And it was my normal because of my mindset, because of my belief system, because of the trauma that I had not dealt with. This was my reality. And so, as you can imagine, and as I talked about in the last episode, I was walking around with so much anger. I had all of these things that made me upset that I never communicated, that I never expressed, that I never allowed myself to let it out. And what did I do? I wept in private. I cried and screamed until I would almost vomit in private. I would never allow people to see me hurt, to see me wounded. That was not going to happen because, again, I was the strong, independent Black woman. And the way I coped was move through life in this masculine, closed off, untouchable fashion. And of course, it kept attracting those type of partners because that's what I was putting out there. I avoided vulnerability at all costs. Whenever I was faced with it, I would run like crazy. I would be the one to ghost because I'm not going there. It freaked me out. It made me feel uncomfortable. It made me feel like, honestly, like it was too difficult to attempt, right? And if it was too difficult to attempt, it must be wrong. It must be something that I don't need to do, right? Because it just felt painful to be honest and vulnerable and intimate with another human being, a partner, I should say, right? And even in my friendships, I would only reveal so much. I would only allow so much to be exposed of me before I backed it up and I crawled back inside of myself because I had to appear as the friend that had it all together. I didn't have to, but that's what's my persona. Marci has it together. Marci knows what to do. Marci has all the answers. And this is the persona that I wore like a badge. So to me, it was not worth being intimate, showing my real self. Because if I showed my real self, I would reveal that I am extremely flawed. And if they know that I'm extremely flawed, they would not accept me. They would say, I knew you were a flawed person. I knew you were this and that. Get away from me. Now, I understand how weird this sounds, but inside of the mind of a person who is walking around with traumatic experiences in their body, their mindset, my mindset, is absolutely warped. I couldn't see the truth. Now, I was not suffering in the vein that I wasn't making moves in life because I was excelling in my career. I was pursuing the things that I've always wanted to pursue. So, on one hand, I'm thriving. And on the other hand, I am suffering. And these two opposite things were at war with each other on the inside of me, causing me to be angrier and angrier and angrier and angrier and move further away from who I was created to be and more into the person that I created in order to cope with the pain that I felt. And to be honest with you, that's how a lot of us are walking around. We are walking around pretending and performing a version of ourselves that we think is palatable for someone else, that we think is enough that the other person can stomach, right? Not too black, not too smart, not too sensitive, not too vulnerable, right? Just the right, perfect package of strength and independence and ambition. That is what I'm presenting to you. And that is who I am. And so oftentimes I honestly I am an observer, and I got so good at pretending because I'm an observer. And a part of observation is my job as an artist, as an actor and director. So this was a skill set that I had naturally, and I'm an observer. So I can observe behaviors in other people. I know immediately when someone is unhappy before they even say it. So I can observe body language really well. And I had gotten so good in reading other people that I can then morph in real time and make adjustments in real time to keep those people happy with me. Now, did I know that that's what I was doing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What I was doing was surviving because I could not deal with rejection. I could not deal with abandonment. The idea of it sent me into a dark, dark place. And I didn't like going there. So, in order for me to keep the people and the things that I loved in my life, I performed. I performed a version of me that I thought that they would accept. And sometimes, depending upon who you are, it was a different version. You know, I had all sorts of friends. I had smart friends. I had hood friends. I had my down to earth homegirl friends. I had my church friends. I had my work friends. And all of those friend groups would not believe the version of me if they were told by each other. They would not believe it. As a matter of fact, those friend groups never mingled. Why? Because I would have been outside of myself trying to remember who I needed to be for all of those groups. Now, this is the type of mental gymnastics that I was taking myself through on an everyday basis. And as you can imagine, the authenticity, the authentic self is being pushed further and further and further and further and further down, which is really causing me all of this anxiety, all of this darkness and depression, because my authentic self never has the opportunity to come to surface and to thrive. And I'm walking around subconsciously feeling that I've reached these milestones because of this performed identity. So this real Marci didn't really do it. This performed identity really achieved that. And I need to keep pretending in order to keep thriving. And that cycle was dangerous. It was destined to come to a halt, right? And it really didn't come to a halt until maybe years into my marriage, when I started to see myself mirrored in the eyes of my husband. And then I started to ask, why am I acting like that? Why won't I allow myself to be transparent and truthful and honest with him? Why am I hiding from him? Why don't I see him as my partner? Why do I feel like I'm in competition with him? This is what was mirrored back to me. And of course, I had another opportunity to become a mother with my husband. And now I'm seeing it mirrored through my son's eyes. Because, see, my first son, I was fully engulfed in survival mode. And that was all I knew. And that was all I had. And he and I went through it together. So I was not looking of a reflection of me in his eyes. I was too busy for that. Right? But now that I have this partner who is kind, who is caring, who wants to care for me, who wants to make me happy. And when I look in his eyes, he is absolutely confused on how to do any of those things. Not because he doesn't know how, but because I'm presenting as if I don't need any of it. And his attempts are shut down. Again, guys, I am not operating at this time in full awareness, the awareness that I am sitting here and presenting to you now. This was not a part of the story. I eventually got to a place where I started to feel and notice and see that something was wrong. Not only something was wrong, but something was wrong with me, on the inside of me. And it felt like I did not have the ability to fix it. It felt beyond me. And of course, as I've said before, I had to double down and I had to go to therapy. I had to keep working in therapy and be bold enough to bring these issues up in therapy. And what came up is that I had taught him not to be gentle with me. I had taught him not to be caring towards me. I had taught him not to dote on me, not to compliment me too much. Don't open the door for me. I'm literally right here. I could do it for myself. Y'all, I was a mess. I'm a work in progress, okay? But I had taught him not to do these things because they angered me for some reason. When this man tried to care for me, it made me feel like, are you trying to say that I can't take care of myself? Do you see how abnormal that is? That is so abnormal, but I had no idea it was abnormal because this was my life. This was my existence for 40 plus years. 40 plus years of coping and hiding to protect a devastation that I thought I would feel if I were to put it all out there. And through working with my therapist, I realized that everything that is taught can be untaught. Everything that is learned can be unlearned. And if I continue to make the associations with the secrets in my closet to my current life and the way that I'm moving through the world, if I continue to make those connections, I can possibly heal. I can possibly believe that I am a descendant of royalty. That I can take that in. And not only can I take that in, I can believe it. I can walk it. I can start to think thoughts now like, I am worthy of care. I am worthy of love. I am worthy to be adored. And not only am I worthy, I want it. I had convinced myself for so long that I didn't need it. I didn't want it. But the truth is that that little girl on the inside of me, she needed care. She needed safety. She needed to be adored. She needed to see somebody's eyes light up when she entered the room. And God has sent me this beautiful man who has the ability to bring me back to that place. And I refused because it was terrifying. Because I was in therapy, I was making progress. It wasn't happening fast enough for me, but I was making progress, and I was trying to put off the old mindset that I had grown accustomed to my entire life. And I'm telling you, this took work. This took work. So I asked God, I need your supernatural help because this just seems impossible for me. I can see it, but I don't know how to get to it. And it's so funny that God answered me and showed me and gave me a gift that would help me navigate through this process. And that gift was Dissonance, the play. If you want to go into this next conversation about Dissonance, the play, and how it helped to heal me, tune in for part 2. Just in case you didn't know, there is a workbook that is a companion to this podcast. Check it out in the show notes. You are going to love it. Thank you for walking this stretch of the journey with me. If something in today's episode stirred your spirit, share this episode with a sister. Leave a review or connect with me on social media. Remember, your softness is sacred. Your healing is your birthright. And your queendom, it's already within you. Until next time, keep rising and claim your inheritance. This podcast was brought to you by Artists at Play, nurturing the artist within.